Okay, we got about 30 seconds before the closing bell. Live on the Discord, live on YouTube, live on X. What's up, y'all? Good to see you. Got people joining the socials right now. Got Applied Digital reporting earnings and Constellation Brands reporting earnings. I'm interested in Constellation Brands. Maybe get an idea on consumer spending. Rogue Dragon on Discord says, "Do we get cookies?" Next time I'll bring cookies for sure. All right, got about over 40 people in the stream now. Okay, the regular session's over. Closing bell just rang. So we got Applied Digital and Constellation Brands. Let's just take a look at each one real quick for those that don't know much about them. Constellation Brands, they're in beverages industry. They're a producer and marketer of beer, wine, and spirits with operations in the United States, Mexico, New Zealand, and Italy, with brands such as Corona Extra, Modelo. That's Constellation Brands. Applied Digital, they're a fintech. So they're a designer, builder, and operator engineered data centers and co-location services for AI, cloud networking, and blockchain. So that's APLD, just a little bit about them. Both of these companies are supposed to report at 4:05 p.m. Eastern. So we got a few minutes to burn here. Applied Digital. Okay, Ronnie. Hey, what's up, Ronnie? What are my thoughts on APLD? Yeah, we're gonna go over that real quick. So Applied Digital, their forecast EPS negative 0.09, forecast revenue 75.9 million. Just a quick look at their annual chart here. They're trading just above their anchor VWAP just below 30. Constellation Brands, forecast EPS 2.65, forecast revenue 2.18 billion. Their anchor VWAP just below 140, so they're trading just above there now. So yeah, let's take a quick peek at Applied Digital. We got a few minutes to kill here. Got, let's see, they do have a negative EPS, no dividend, 234 million float. Just look at the financials real quick. Okay, so yeah, this company, it's kind of hit or miss on their net income every quarter. It's like they're profitable one quarter, then they lose money, then they're profitable, then they lose money again. So kind of a mixed bag with the positive net income, not really consistent with pulling a profit. Debt to asset 53%. That's good. And cash and equivalents 73 million as of August 31st. So yeah, you know, APLD's financials could be a little better. We'll look at some levels on the bigger time frames here in a second. It's 4:03 p.m. So about 2 more minutes. We'll get the earnings data and then we'll get the stock price reaction. STZ, just a quick look at them. Nice and positive PE. STZ is going to be the better of the two companies, but EPS 6.8. They do pay a dividend, 2.9%, 139 million float. And let's see if they're profitable. Got 2 quarters in a row profitable. They did have a few quarters they weren't profitable, but 2 back-to-back profitability quarters, positive net income, debt to asset 63%, cash and equivalents 72 million. So let's see here. I want to go back to TradingView. We go 1 minute chart here. Getting a little pre-earnings volatility on both of these. APLD, if they get a positive reaction. Well, let me turn off this indicator real quick. Right there. Okay. put the volume profile up. Let's just see some levels from the volume here. Probably going to be mid 30s. Looking at mid 30s probably for resistance if they get a positive reaction. Probably like right around here. Probably call it 35 bucks, right around there. If they get a negative reaction, we'll be looking at the low 20s, 23, 24, right where this volume shelf is sticking out right there. So that's my two levels, upside and downside. Let's go back intraday. Okay, let me turn off this volume profile. Don't need that no more. And should be getting a reaction any second now. Constellation Brands, looks like they're getting a reaction. Turn this off real quick. There we go. Okay, so which way is Applied Digital going to go? It's an AI company. Let me see if the data's out. Let me check real quick. APLD. I think Constellation Brands, their data is probably out. Let's look at a few other things here. I'm going to check Constellation Brands because I think their data is probably out by now. Applied Digital is up 2% in after hours, but I'm not sure if it's made the move yet. Constellation Brands, they did double beat, but they got some issues with the year over year and quarter over quarter numbers, but they did double beat. Here, I'll just show everyone real quick. Right here. So forecast EPS 2.63. They reported $3.06, beat by double digit. Revenue 2.16 billion forecast. They reported 2.22 billion. So double beat, but as you can see from the year over year, quarter over quarter numbers, there's no growth there. So I'm not quite sure this positive move is going to hold up. Investors want to see growth. Not really showing any growth, but they did beat forecast. So we're just going to have to watch it. But yeah, just as I expected, this positive move just got faded. Now it's back to basically where it closed the regular session at. So investors are seeing there's no growth there. So going to keep your eye on it. I suppose for the bulls, at least it's not, taking a hit right now as far as it, selling off into the red, but still a little early. So we'll keep our eye on it. Let me look at a few more things real quick. Pull this back over here. But hope everyone's doing well. Half the week's over now. Now we just got Thursday, a little more than half the week actually. We've got Thursday and Friday left. Constellation Brands coming back. Well, it looked like it was coming back up, and it just kind of got hit right back down. Let's look at APLD. But let me post in the comments the EPS and revenue here. Or I'm going to go to APLD. Here's an earnings recap here for STZ, Constellation Brands. I'll put this in the comments for everybody. Okay, there we go. I'll put that on the bottom of my screen. So that's the results for Constellation Brands. Double beat. I'll put this in Discord as well for my Discord people. There you go. Let me find out when STZ or Constellation Brands is going to do their call. And then we're going to jump over to Applied Digital and see what's going on with them, because they're like frozen in time right now. They're just sitting at 30 bucks in after hours. Let me get this first. Okay, Constellation Brands. Let's take a look. I want to know when they're going to do their call. As soon as we're done looking at Constellation Brands, we'll go over to Applied Digital for sure. So here's the link for their investor relations page. I'll put that in the comments as well. If anyone wants to take a deeper dive into their earnings. We know they double beat. They beat EPS. They beat revenue. Here's the press release for their earnings right here. And you can even get a PDF document. It's a 34-page PDF document. And you can go through this, and it tells a lot about the company and lots of line items and graphs and charts about their results. But let me see when their call is going to be. That's what I want to know. Earnings webcast right here. Okay. All right. They're actually not doing their web call. Yeah, Rogue Dragon, 34 pages. This is what AI is meant for, summarizing. Their earnings web call isn't until tomorrow morning. So they're not even doing their call tonight. Sometimes we see that. Most times the company will report around 4 and we'll get their call at like 4:30 or 5. But Constellation Brands, they're located in the US, right? Yeah, they're located in New York. But anyways, their web call with the higher ups isn't until tomorrow at 10:30 a.m. Eastern. I don't know why that didn't pull over for me. Hold on. So, for the Constellation investors out there, ticker symbol STZ, for the actual web call, you're going to have to wait till tomorrow morning, unfortunately. But we do have their initial reaction to the data. Pull this back over here. And it looks like it's a positive reaction so far. It was a bit volatile at first, kind of rallied up and then came down and then came back up, and now it's still up. So Constellation Brands closed the regular session at $140.49. They were down 2.2% today, as was a lot of other stocks. If you're following S&P and NASDAQ, sold off into the close here. But there were some stocks that ended green. SoFi kind of ended flat on the day, but they did have a nice rally going into the end of the day to reclaim some of their losses. I've been trading SoFi lately. OSCR is another one I've been watching. I'm probably going to run the wheel strategy on that soon. I've just been waiting for this. I know I'm getting off track here, but just letting y'all know some of the things I'm looking at. There is this on OSCR. I definitely want to start trading the wheel on this. And I was waiting for this gap down to 1350 to get filled. It looks like a little more than half the gap got filled, but the remainder of the gap is still exposed here and not resolved. And then, what was this? Friday and Monday had a nice rally up. Now it's printing some doji looking candles, but that's why I haven't entered OSCR yet, because I was waiting for this gap to 1350 to get filled. It just never completely filled, so I sat on my hands. And now there's another gap here down to 1550 to 15. So maybe it'll come down there and fill those two gaps soon, and then I'll enter. Sometimes these gaps don't get filled right away. Sometimes they're left open for weeks or months. But I'm a patient trader. So I'm willing to wait for a pullback to enter that one. But let's go back to Constellation Brands. Still holding up here. Their earnings web call isn't until tomorrow at 10:30 a.m. Janko Hasek on Discord says, has a question. Can someone quickly explain leverage to me? I guess the easiest way to explain it would be to compare it to an options contract. So when you trade an options contract, you can basically control 100 shares. And the cost of that contract will be a lot cheaper than buying 100 shares outright. So that's an example of leverage. Hope that kind of clarifies a little bit. There's also leveraged ETFs you can trade. Like TSLL is the leveraged ETF. I believe it's a 2x leverage that follows the price of Tesla. TSLL. This would be like a leveraged ETF. And let's see here. Yeah, 200% of the daily performance of Tesla. So that's a 2x leverage ETF, if you will. But I don't really use leverage much outside of trading, options contracts. I know in the crypto world, you can use leverage to trade. It's kind of dangerous, so definitely do your research on leverage before you start utilizing leverage. Outside of trading naked option contracts, that's leverage in itself right there, because you're controlling 100 shares of the stock for a much less price than buying 100 shares. So that's kind of what leverage is. Let's go back to, okay, Constellation Brands still holding up. We're going to go over to APLD here in a second. Let's see, I'm going to measure this move here to probably right where it closed the regular session's fine. So had to rally up to 145, but we're just below 146 actually. Pulled back to this 25% retrace, and now it's bouncing. So fib levels lining up pretty well with the price action so far. So we'll see what Constellation Brands ends up doing for the remainder of after hours, and then of course we got pre-market tomorrow. So let's go over to Applied Digital. They closed the regular session at 29.65. We took a quick peek at their fundamentals, financials, if you will. Kind of a mixed bag there. They kind of, you know, some quarters they're profitable, some quarters they're not profitable. So kind of flip-flopping back and forth every quarter. And they are positive in after hours right now, trading just above 30 bucks, up about 1.5%. It's not selling off, so that's a good thing for the bulls. Let's see what kind of data I got on them. APLD, Applied Digital. Okay, I'm not showing their data's even out yet. Yeah, I'm not even showing that it's released. Earnings Whispers said it was supposed to release at 4:05 p.m. Eastern. It's 4:16. I'm not seeing any results yet. Let me go to their investor relations page just to make sure. And we'll double check there. That would explain why it's kind of not really moving. I mean, there was some volatility there right when the regular session closed and started printing all these crazy candles. And I mean, it is positive, but I'm not seeing any data. Let me double check. Let's go here. Okay. Yeah, they haven't even dropped the press release yet, but I do see the web call here. Let me click on that. Okay, so this is just info about the web call. The web call starts at 5 p.m. Eastern. Go back one page right here. You can see that. So let me put this link in the comments if anyone, you know, wants to go there. Maybe I'll save you some time from going to find the link. Let's see. Okay. And let me just see the press release. So probably be under news and events. And yeah, they have their data's not out for some reason. I don't know if it got delayed. Earnings Whispers says it's supposed to be at January 7th, 4:05 p.m. Eastern. And we just don't have it yet. So not sure if it's been delayed or according to their website, the web call is still supposed to go down at right here, 5 p.m. Eastern. So I don't know, they're going to wait until the actual web call to drop the data. I don't really see that too often. Usually they'll drop the earnings data, the earnings results, give investors some time to digest the information before they actually do the call. But Applied Digital, we don't have any data, but we do have their investor relations website saying the call's at 5. So maybe they just do a double whammy at 5 p.m. Eastern and drop the data and start the call. That's a little unusual. But this was back to the question for Janko Hasek on Discord asking about leverage. I mean, I guess to summarize what leverage would be is you're basically using borrowed money from a broker to control a larger position than your own capital. Okay. So that's what leverage is. You're using borrowed money. But there's also a different way of looking at it as far as controlling 100 shares of a stock using an option contract. That's also leverage. But in general, you're basically using borrowed money to trade. That's what leverage is. You got to be careful Because if you're wrong, you know, you get a margin call and be in trouble. But just be careful. So anyways, nothing going on Applied Digital. This is actually the one I wanted to see because it's in the AI space. We got almost 2,000 people tuning in. Good to see everyone. I know the past few weeks it's been a little slow for earnings because we had the short weeks and the holiday and the, you know, Christmas and New Year's, and no companies report around those holidays. Probably all with their families and stuff, but we're back at it. Did an earnings stream yesterday. We had a little bit of fun and shared some spread trades I opened up with everyone yesterday. But it's about 4:20 p.m. I'm going to move this out the way because we don't have any data on Applied Digital, and basically we're kind of at a standstill with this stock because we don't have any data in their conference call. According to the info I'm getting, starts at 5 p.m. So about 40 more minutes for that. But we can go ahead and look at the daily time frame. We already kind of marked out some levels. So I'm kind of looking at like around 34, 35 bucks for R1 resistance. And then if it for some reason gets a negative reaction, I'd be looking to probably around 24. I'm just using volume for those levels here, volume and price action. So you can see, let me actually zoom out just a little bit here. Wait for this to reset. Yeah, so this is where I got the levels from. You can see the around 34, 35, got a little volume shelf sticking out right there. And then down here around 23, 24, there's obviously some demand down there somewhere. So those are the levels that I would keep watch on depending on what reaction it gets. Let me go back intraday. And all right, getting a little bit of buying coming in now. Did they finally release the data? They're only 15 minutes late. Yeah, I'm looking on X too. Everyone's posting memes. Patiently waiting on APLD. I think they're late, or it's delayed. Let's see here. APLD. Okay, wait. It looks like I don't know if this is a typo or not, but APLD Q2 earned massive revenue beat 91.2 million versus 82.2 million. So is that 11% beat on their revenue? Is that what I'm seeing? Revenue forecast. Yeah, that's not kind of matching the info that I have. So I'm not sure how accurate that is. I think that's, I don't think that source is too credible. Yeah, this isn't out. So if you see anyone posting stuff about their results, I would take that with a grain of salt because I'm not showing. I mean, they would post it on their investor relations page, and it's just not there. Let me refresh it again. They would put a news release out, and the last news release posted is December 29th, but they do have the earnings conference call info right here on the homepage. So we're still waiting on data. If you see people saying stuff in social media about results, I would not believe that. I get my info straight from the company. So, you know, straight from Applied Digital is where I'm going to get my info. So yeah, still no data. You know, it's looking like what they're probably just going to wait until the web call, which is at 5 p.m. So we might not be getting a reaction on Applied Digital until that web call, unfortunately. Constellation Brands pulling back a little bit. They pulled back to 50%. It's about 143 a share. Still in the green nonetheless. But some of these fib levels are getting tested here. Definitely want 142.50 to hold for the bulls for sure. I'm going to get rid of this fib because I want to look at the bigger time frames on constant because there's just nothing going on with Applied Digital right now. So there's nothing really. But let me look at Constellation Brands real quick because at least we got a move on this one. Let's look at the volume profile here. Zoom out a little bit. Wow, they've been getting crushed. Well, since September, they did not have a good Q4, that's for sure. Look at that. Look at this volume gap on this daily chart. Jeez. But I'd probably call like maybe 160. Probably going to be a little resistance there from where it's at now. There's these obviously bigger time frame levels, but pretty easy. Lines up kind of $10 increments. 160 to 170. There's a lot of volume that came in between 170 and 190. And look at this huge volume gap here. If this does get a positive reaction and it can break through some of these resistance levels, this is, this could be a magnet back into the 200s. Look at that. There is not much volume that came in here from 190 to like 230. Look at that huge gap there in the volume. So with, it's got a bit, it's got a bit of work to do before it gets close to that volume gap, but yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens. Again, their earnings web call isn't until tomorrow at 10 a.m. So I'm gonna go back intraday on there. Look at this move here. Pulling back a little bit, but that's okay. And I'm gonna put the fib back on there just so I can keep my eye on some of these levels. I'll just draw it down to where it closed the regular session. So these levels seem to be lining up pretty good with the price. So anyways, yeah, unfortunately, kind of a bummer letdown on APLD. I don't see any data yet. Let me double check their IR page here. But they haven't dropped the news release or anything. Last news release right here, December 29th. So unfortunately, we're still waiting. But as far as I know, that earnings conference call is still scheduled at 5 p.m. So about 30 more minutes. I guess to burn a little bit of time here, I went over some spread trades that I opened up recently yesterday at the end of the stream, and just wanted to let everyone know how those are going. So let me just show everyone here. This is our Discord here. This was the Google bull put spread. A technical term would be a vertical put credit spread. But this is the spread that I had open. Google was trading at 314.56 at the time. And there was 10 days until expiration when I opened it. And this was last week. I opened this up last Tuesday. Not yesterday, but last week. So it was a 10-day to expiration spread trade. And I felt pretty good that Google was going to stay above 310 for the next 10 days. And it sure did. It did come down close to 310. I think it was last Friday. But it never did breach it. Ended up bouncing from there. And then look what it's done today. Let me just pull it up here on the side. And it was back in the 320s. So this beautiful trade. Really nice trade. Very nice price action Google had today. And I trade Google with the L because there's two tickers. There's GOOG and then there's GOOGL. The one with the L, that's the Class A shares with the voting rights. So that's typically the ticker that I trade. GOOGL. But beautiful move by Google. Spread trade worked out beautifully. On this particular spread trade, there was a 67% chance of profit, so probabilities or odds were in our favor. And, I had almost a $5 cushion on it from where the underlying stock price was trading at to where my spread was located. That's the beauty with credit spreads, out of the money credit spreads. I don't really care. I don't really need a directional move. With out of the money credit spreads, it can be neutral. Google could just trade sideways at 314 for a week, bouncing around. and it would be a winning trade. We don't need the underlying stock to necessarily move. Now, if we do get a directional move, specifically for a put credit spread, technically we're short the put because we're receiving credit, which means it's a neutral to bullish trade, even though we're trading puts. But that's just how that works. And now, don't get me wrong. Yes, we don't need a directional move, but if we do get a directional move in our favor, which a put credit spread would be a bullish move, then we don't have to hold these to expiration. We'll get the majority of the max gain will be on the table well before expiration. So look at it this way. We'll take this for an example, 10-day hold, right? If within the first 2 days after opening the spread trade, if you have close to max gain on the table, I'd say anything above 75% plus return on that spread. And let's say you get that within the first 1 or 2 days. Why would you hold that for the remaining 8 days for peanuts, right? Because on credit spreads, there is a max gain. Our upside is capped. But if you get real close to that in a short period of time, why would you continue holding that to expiration? In my opinion, is you go ahead and pocket that profit, take all your risk off the table, and then you might be able to squeeze in an additional spread trade within the same time frame using the same expiration date. So it's a way to really compound your gains if you know when to take profit. And Rafa Tool on YouTube, much appreciated for covering that. I'm just looking through the comments. I don't see you had a question, so I'm assuming you're just talking about maybe when I was going over APLD and stuff like that, or maybe it's the spread trade, and maybe I can say something that can help clarify some things for some traders out there. So is this Google spread, beautiful trade, and it had a potential return. We collected $71 per spread, and it's a $2.50 wide spread, so times 100 in the options world, right? So you need $250 in buying power for this, but potential 28% return on capital on this trade. And we took, what did we take? Yeah, 72%. I took that this morning. I just had 2 of them, 2 spreads. Got 72% on it. Easy $100. No stress, nothing. And I'll kind of paint a bigger picture here. So with this spread trade, I collected $71 a spread, right? So easy way to kind of draw this out on your chart is first figure out what your break even is. So if I sold the 310 and the 307.50 spread, a put credit spread, and I received a $71 credit, very easy to figure out what your break even at expiration would be. It's going to be the strike you sold to open, which in this case was the 310. And then you simply just subtract out the credit you received on the spread, which was $71 a spread. So 310 minus 0.71 means at expiration which expired January 9th and this Friday. So at expiration, your break even would be 309.29. So anytime I open up a spread trade, I always put a horizontal white line where my break even at expiration is. That's what this white line is right here on the Google chart. And then also another line I usually put on the chart, it's probably on my Webull chart, but is a vertical line, and I like to put that at the expiration date, right? So there's it expired on Friday, but let's just say that this particular one expired on the 16th, which would be next Friday, right? So that would be like here. And the purpose of me doing this is to show you how to easily check in on your spread trades to keep your emotions low. And so I draw my break-even line, my horizontal line, my break-even. My vertical line is the expiration, so that's where we potentially might have to take the trade. And then, with those 2 lines drawn out, we really don't need to worry about much. Let me just kind of draw a couple lines here. So once the spread is open, and I opened the spread when Google was trading sideways back here. So, Google could trade this way. It could even go against us a little bit. all this intraday price action, it could be all over the place, right? I really don't care what it's doing as far as like intraday price action. I'm only concerned about the price staying above my white line. That's all I care about. Because if it's above my white line, by the time we get to this yellow line, it's going to be a profitable trade. Okay. Now, of course, like I was saying earlier, if Google just rallies like it did today, we don't have to hold it to the yellow line. So I had over 70% of my max gain was on the table today. So what did I do? Why take the unnecessary risk of holding it all the way to expiration when you got most of the profit on the table? It makes sense to go ahead and pocket that, don't it? So just wanted to kind of go over this Google spread trade. That was an excellent trade. Of course, if you want these trades in real time, got to join the Discord. There's some links in the description if you want to join. But let me move Discord back over real quick. Yeah, I mean, let me just show. I'm the last. I think I'm going on 7 or 8 spread trades in a row, all back-to-back winners. I do get a loser every now and then, but if you're trading spreads correctly, you should have a super high win rate. So that was a winner on Google. This is my alert channel, by the way, on the Discord. Do a lot of the wheel strategy. I do a lot of short strangle trades where I'm getting double income. You're basically selling covered calls above the stock price and selling cash secured puts below the stock price, similar to an iron condor. But when I do my calls, I usually have shares covering that contract as collateral, and then I'll have cash as collateral for my cash secured puts. But what I'll do is I'll strangle the stock. I'll have the stock price in the middle, and then I'll have my call and put on each side of it. And I like collecting double income that way. So we do a lot of short strangles. This was another previous spread trade was on bull. This was a bull put spread. It was trading at 850 at the time. We did get a nice bullish move on that. And yeah, ended up pocketing 78% on that spread trade. Looks like quite a few people took that trade here, looking at the emojis. So we did good on that. And then the spread trade before that, I'm kind of just skipping over my wheel trades, but was this Disney trade. I didn't make a ton of money on this trade, but it was a beautiful setup. And we traded the 105 and the 104 put credit spread, or bull put spread is kind of the slang term. This was a 28% potential return on capital. And then it looks like the very next day I had 41% on the table. So, I went ahead and pocketed that. Looks like I made a little bit more than I thought. So total cost was $8.03, and I ended up walking away with $54.67. So that was a neat trade there. And then so that was the Disney spread. And then I did a spread on Mara. These were all spreads done in December. I try and do 1 to 2 spreads a week. So we have like 4 to 8 spread trades for the month. Plenty of trades for everyone to participate in. This was a Mara spread, which worked out. And Mara was trading at 12.29 at the time. Again, this was a put credit spread. This paid 34% return on capital. $1 wide spread there. And it looks like I opened that up on earlier in the month on December. And then when did I take profit on that? Where is it at? Yeah, right here. Okay, I got 52%. About 7 days later, I had 52% on the table. So I was fine with that. So I took that. And then what was the spread trade before that? I know I've got like 7 or 8 back-to-back winners on these spread trades. Oh, yeah, it was a spread trade on NVIDIA. I do the spreads on blue chips a lot as well. And this particular credit spread was 250 wide, which means you need $250 in buying power for each spread. This one paid $64 a spread, which was good enough for me. 64 divided by 250. Yes, that was a 25% return on capital trade there. 70% chance of profit. NVIDIA was trading at 176 and some change at the time when I opened it. Another 10-day expiration trade, and I had over $6 in cushion from where the underlying stock price in the video was trading at to where my spread was located. So I always like to have a little bit of cushion. That way, if it pulls back against you a little bit, you're still okay. And that's what I was saying earlier with the credit spreads. Like I don't really care about the direction so much. I just want the underlying stock to remain somewhat stable and remain on the correct side of my spread leading up to expiration. And then more times than not, these are winning trades. You know, so another thing to consider. Yeah, let me. Good, thanks for the reminder there, John Joe Julio on YouTube. Let me go back there. I kind of started rambling about all these spread trades I've been doing, but let's go back to APLD, and I will check my source. And let me see if they dropped the press release. I'm not showing that they dropped the press release yet. Look, this is straight from Applied Digital's investor relations page. And the last press release was December 29th. But they still have the info here for their conference call. Starts at 5 p.m. Eastern, so in 20 minutes. So again, this one's a little unusual because usually the companies like to release the earnings data and give investors a chance to digest the info before the actual earnings conference call. In the situation we have with Applied Digital right now, the data, as far as I can see, has not been released, but they still have their earnings call scheduled. So let me check again. I know, I mean, I'm also looking at X here, and everyone's patiently waiting. Yeah, so either their earnings were delayed or they're waiting to release the earnings when they do the earnings web call. So that was for John Joe Julio. To answer your question, I am not showing that their data is out yet. So it's kind of just a big waiting game here. I know a lot of people are waiting on it, but I don't see any info from their investor relations page as far as a news release goes or anything. Tatted Troy guy says 2 p.m. Pacific time. Yeah, that would be 5 p.m. Eastern when they're going to do their actual call. I got that, but you know, the other sources I was showing, Earnings Whispers said the actual data was supposed to be dropped at 4:05 p.m. Eastern. That's typically what happens. They'll drop the data closer to 4 and then do the call at 5 p.m. Eastern, but the data has not been dropped. But the web call is scheduled at 5 p.m. Eastern. Tata Troy says, per Chat GPT. Okay, cool. I don't know if Chat GPT is thinking you're asking about the actual earnings web call, because that is correct. You're absolutely 100% correct there. It's right here on their homepage, right there, right when you get there. It's earnings web conference call, 5 p.m. Eastern. I'm just curious. You know, I'm just curious why they didn't drop the data first, because usually that's what happens. So unfortunately, everyone's still waiting on Applied Digital's data. And since it hasn't been dropped yet, I'm thinking they're just going to do it when they do the 5 p.m. earnings call. That's looking like what's going to happen. So it's about 4:45 p.m. right now. I'm not going to stream the actual call. Usually I just come on here before the earnings web call and we go over the data drop with the EPS, revenue, any guidance, and any commentary, stuff like that. Unfortunately, we don't have anything on Applied Digital yet. So going to have to wait till 5 p.m. to get that info. I'm assuming they're just going to drop the data at the same time they do the call, is what I'm thinking. Which is typically not the case. I've been doing these earnings streams for over a year now, and usually they drop the data, they give a little bit of time for investors to digest the data, and then they do the call. For some reason, Applied Digital looks like they're going to do it all at one shot, which is interesting. So Applied Digital investors, just be on your P's and Q's at 5 p.m. We'll probably finally get a move when that starts. It was a little volatile when the regular session closed. Lots of ups and downs and kind of weird looking candles we're printing. So everyone's just patiently waiting. And now it's trading just above where it closed the regular session. So it hasn't really done anything as far as like a permanent move goes. Hasn't really done anything yet. So with that said, it's been about 45 minutes. Hope everyone enjoyed my coverage of Constellation Brands, because they did double beat and they got a positive reaction. Again, just a reminder, Constellation Brands is not doing their, and that's ticker symbol STZ, they're not doing their web call till tomorrow morning at 10:30 a.m. Eastern. So Constellation Brands investors, just gonna have to wait until then. And for anyone that wants to join the Applied Digital earnings conference call, that starts in 15 minutes. That's the link I got on the bottom of my screen. So you can just screenshot that and I'll take you right there. And I went over quite a few spread trades that I did recently. So if you're interested in getting more of those, if you want those spread trades in real time, join the Discord. You can even join the Discord for free. See how you like that. Go from there. Another thing that's free, and I always mention this at the end of all my earnings streams, if you want 4 high probability trade setups sent to your inbox every morning at 9 a.m. Eastern, 30 minutes before the opening bell, check that first link in the description. Doesn't cost any money. It's free, totally free. We've been getting a lot of good feedback on those trade setups that get emailed out every morning. But yeah, with that said, I am the Swinging Bull with PB Alerts. My real name is Benjamin. Most people call me Ben. I do these earnings streams every Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. The past 2 weeks, it's been, kind of non-existent because there were no companies reporting earnings around New Year's and the Christmas holiday and stuff like that. But we're back at it, all right? Q1 of 2026 is underway, and I'm looking forward to doing more of these earnings streams and taking deep dives into these companies, looking at some levels on some bigger time frames, looking at the stock price reactions to the earnings data, the EPS, revenue, guidance, things of that nature. And then, of course, at the end of every stream, I try and go over some trades that I currently have open, just to give everyone a little Easter egg on what I've been trading lately and trades that I currently have open and how I'm managing them and all that fun stuff. But wow, over 2,000 people tuning into the stream. It's so good to see everyone. Happy New Year. I'm not sure if I told anyone that yet, but we are officially into Q1, and I'm definitely excited about the first quarter and the year in general. And my goal for the year, which is basically my goal every year, is as far as my different portfolios go, I try and beat the S&P annual average return by 3x or more. And I've been able to do that for quite a few years in a row now. So that's my goal. I don't think it's too greedy of a goal. I'm not trying to get 100% overnight and all that, chasing home runs. I just like consistent base hits that are very consistent, that add up and compound over time. So that's my goal for this year. And I do day trade every now and then. That's usually just for fun and entertainment. The bulk of my capital is allocated to writing contracts. Most of my trades are sell to open, multi-leg. That is my bread and butter. That's just how I prefer to trade. I think there's a lot less emotion involved in that way of trading compared to some of your traditional ways of trying to day trade the indexes and stuff like that. It comes with a lot of emotion and stuff like that. So I try and keep my trading as simple as possible, and I try and keep my goals somewhat realistic, and we have a lot of fun. But yeah, my name's the Swinging Bull with PB Alerts. Okay, we're getting a move on Applied Digital. I guess I'll hang on for a second. I don't know if that was just a little pre-volatility. No, it's getting some buying. I think the data's out. Let me double check here. Right at the end, when I was going to close up the stream, it looks like we're finally getting the move. There we go. Let me go to my other page and see if they finally dropped that press release. It's out. They dropped it. Okay. Well, they sure took their sweet time dropping the data, but we got the data, folks. I'm going to keep their price on the left, getting a bullish move here. They closed the regular session at $29.56. Let me get rid of this volume profile. Get rid of that. You can see the price pretty clear. Just move this over. We're looking at Applied Digital now. Wow, look at that. Finally dropped. John Joe Julio. I'm assuming you might have been a bull on APLD. If you were, you should be quite happy with the move going on right now. They're up 8%, folks. Almost 9%. Look at this. They're catching a little bit of a bid. Let's give it a second. Make sure this move doesn't get faded. But their data is officially out. Let me see if I can get a breakdown for everybody. Okay, looks green across the board to me, folks. Let me just move this over here. Actually, let's do this. Move it over like that so we can still see the price on the right. We got a nice graphic here from the earnings correspondent. Taking a little breather right now, but there is some great good buying on that. So look at this, green across the board, folks. It's looking like a congrats to the APLD bulls, as long as they didn't mess with their guidance in a negative way. But look at this, they beat EPS very beautifully. Revenue forecast 81.2 million. They reported 126.5 million revenue. They beat revenue by 56%. Amazing. Look at that. Holy cow. All right, so their earnings are out. Let me and look at the year over year and quarter over quarter numbers. It's coming back down a little bit right now, but nonetheless, still green. I'm going to draw a fib on this in a second. We'll look at some levels, but EPS and revenue, triple digit growth year over year. And EPS and revenue, basically triple digit growth quarter over quarter. So this is real nice on the eyes, isn't it? Lots of green there for year over year, quarter over quarter, and the EPS and revenue results, if you will. It's looking good for the APLD bulls. Let me move this back over. And again, we were looking at the daily chart. I was looking right around 34, 35 for possible resistance. I pulled that level from the volume profile. So I'll put that back up, I guess. You can see there was some volume that came in, you know, around like 25 to 28-ish. But you can see the volume really starts poking out pretty good up here around 34, 35. So that's kind of, and that's where it rejected from the second week of December. But it's at another resistance, I guess you would say. It was trading just below that today. It's basically the high from today's candle. That's where it's at right now. So if you're looking at this red daily candle, it's already retraced all of the red candle from today. And now it's sitting up here at the top wick. So we get a nice push through this level around 31.50. This should be a nice ride to 34.35. We'll see. But positive reaction. I'm not even going to worry about the support, which is the low 20s. It's around 23, 24 bucks. You can see where all the volume came in at that level. Clear demand there in the low 20s. But here we are, trading just below today's high. It has retraced the selling from today's daily candle, so that's positive. It's trading right here, right now, just above 31. So we go back intraday. Probably throw a fib on this, just kind of see what it looks like. But wow, that talk about patiently waiting. I think their earnings data was just delayed. Because like I say, usually they'll release the data 30, 45 minutes before the call to let investors kind of go through it a little bit before they start talking about it at the call. And looks like they gave investors like a 10-minute window. Looks like it dropped right at 450. Well, let me see here. Yeah, right before then, 448. I think the data drop was delayed, but they finally were able to get it dropped before the web call. 12 minutes before the actual web call. But this is looking good. This is looking real good for APLD. We obviously already know when their web call is, and we know how to get there. That's still the link on the bottom of my screen. Let me just see if I can get any commentary real quick, because I'm not going to stream this webcast. That's why I got the link for everyone. But I do want to look at the press release, look at some highlights. You can also download this as a PDF document. It's a 15-page PDF document. So that'll give you a nice deep dive. But Revenues up 250% from prior year comparable period. That is excellent growth by Applied Digital. Let's see here. Adjusted net income, 0.1 million. Let's see. I'm looking for commentary because I want to see what they say. Management commentary. Here it is here. Okay. So this is from his name's Wes. He's the chairman and CEO. And he says the Dakotas represent a compelling region for hyperscalers due to their cool climate and abundant energy. We believe our first mover advantage, combined with our proven ability to execute technically complex data center construction, positions Applied Digital with a strong competitive advantage. Having already secured 2 hyperscalers in the region, inbound demand has increased meaningfully. We're also in advanced discussions with another investment-grade hyperscaler across multiple regions, including additional locations in the Dakotas and select southern U.S. markets. So yeah, they're talking about expanding even more. They got great growth. Investors are loving this. While there can be no assurance of future contracts, we believe we are well positioned to begin construction in the near term on these new sites. That's a pretty solid commentary. And then we got some more commentary here. The strong liquidity position. So yeah, let's talk about that. So they completed a $2.35 billion senior secured private notes offering with Morgan Stanley as the lead. And as of period end, Applied Digital held approximately $2.3 billion in total cash equivalents, restricted cash, and $5.2 billion in total assets, $3.2 billion in liabilities. So their debt to asset ratio is pretty good there. Wow, so that's good. So the strong liquidity position gives them the flexibility to complete construction, right, on their expansion projects, and bring assets online and generate cash flow to refinance and pay down debt. Very, very positive. And look, they're making a run towards after hours high. Let's see what Webull says after hours high. 32.17. This is a 1 hour candle here. Look at that 1 hour candle. Look at that beautiful 1 hour candle. Nice bottom wick. Not much of a wick up top. Buying pressure still coming in. Level 2 order book is stacked on the bid right now. So we got a pretty good buy side imbalance. This 1 hour candle is just getting bigger by the second here. Look at that. That's a beautiful candle. It's over 32 now. Remember, 34, 35. That's that bigger time frame level we were looking at. I mean, I didn't just pull that number out of my ass. Okay. It was right up here. We looked at the Farouk on Discord. Good to see you, brother. 34, 35. That's going to be a level of interest on the top side of the stock. It's getting close, right? This is over 32 now. Just made a new after hours high. Probably move my fib up a little bit, but I might have to just keep moving it if that's the case. I usually will draw my fib when it starts pulling back a little bit. Then we can get some mathematical levels of interest just very quickly using the fib level. And a lot of times they lines up very good with the levels as well. The price action does. But it's 4:58 p.m. Okay, that earnings web call with Applied Digital is starting in 2 minutes. Again, I'm not personally going to stream it, but I did have a lot of fun with everyone. Been streaming for about an hour. We went over a lot of spread trades I've been doing, which is a lot of fun. I will be back tomorrow for another earnings stream tomorrow, and I'll have some more trades lined up for everyone to review. And tomorrow's earnings is WD-40 and AEHR. I've been trading AEHR. I like the company. I've run the wheel on it a few times, made some good money on it. So I'll be interested in the earnings reaction to AEHR's stock price tomorrow. And that's 4 p.m. Eastern tomorrow. But yeah, that's really all I got for today. Over 2,200 people in the stream right now on the socials. Rogue Dragon on Discord says, well, I have a reason to believe you are capable of pulling that number from such. Okay, you're talking about my joke from earlier. You gave me a good laugh there, my brother Rogue Dragon on Discord. But yeah, anyways, I don't want to sound like a broken record, but I'm the Swinging Bull with PB Alerts. If you're looking for a new home, check us out. Links are in the description. And don't forget about the free 4 high probability trade setups we can send to you every morning at 9 a.m. Eastern. It does not cost a penny. It's free. I love giving away free stuff. But other than that, hope everyone enjoyed the stream. If you like the content, feel free to give me a follow on X. My handle's right there at the bottom of the screen. I do put a lot of content on X. I do put a lot of trade ideas on X. And then I also have been updating my, I started a $2,500 small account challenge that I've been updating on there as well. But hope everyone enjoyed. I hope everyone has a fantastic night. And until next time, I'll see everyone in the very next stream. Cheers.